Gentlemen, let me ask you something personal, something most men won't bring up with their closest friends, not even with their doctor. What really happens to your prostate when you continue to, relieve yourself after the age of 40, 50, or even 70? Now, before you get uncomfortable and click away, hear me out. Because this question, as awkward as it sounds, could mean the difference between enjoying your golden years, chasing grandkids in the backyard, or spending those years waking up 5 times a night, dealing with urgency, pain, and an enlarged prostate. I've spent more than 30 years in medicine, working with thousands of men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. And I can tell you, this isn't locker room talk. This is medical reality. Today, I want to strip away the stigma and share the surprising, science-backed truth about daily release and your prostate. So grab a glass of water, sit back, and get ready, because we're diving into one of the most misunderstood yet critical topics in men's health. And hey, before we begin, if you find value in what we're about to uncover, do me a favor, hit that like button, share this video with a friend who needs it, and make sure you subscribe to Senior Health After 50. That way, you'll never miss the kind of life-changing insights we bring here every week. The prostate, small but mighty. The prostate may be small, but it's a giant when it comes to controlling a man's comfort and confidence. Picture it as the air traffic control tower of your body, guiding flow, timing, and direction. At just the size of a walnut, it decides whether you enjoy a steady stream when you're standing at the bathroom, whether intimacy feels natural and fulfilling, and even whether your sperm cells are fit enough to finish their journey. Most men don't think twice about this tiny gland until it starts misbehaving. Then, suddenly, it's running the show. Your daily life becomes scheduled around restrooms. You're at a dinner with friends, but excuse yourself 3 times, and it's hard not to feel self-conscious. At night, instead of sinking into deep rest, you're waking up every couple of hours. And believe me, nothing accelerates aging faster than fragmented sleep. Now here's the surprising truth most men never hear, even from their doctors. The way you care for your prostate on a daily basis, including something as personal as how often you allow yourself to release, has a direct biological impact on whether that gland stays healthy or becomes a source of endless problems. To put this into perspective, let's look at a few familiar names. Take a world leader like Winston Churchill. History books praise his speeches and leadership during World War II, but few people know he privately struggled with late-night bathroom visits in his older years. Letters and records from those close to him describe how his prostate issues often left him restless, pacing at night. Even someone who carried the weight of nations on his shoulders couldn't escape what was happening inside a walnut-sized gland. Contrast that with a modern cultural icon like Mick Jagger. At nearly 80, he's still touring, dancing across the stage with energy men half his age would envy. Part of his longevity isn't just his genes, it's his discipline with movement, diet, and yes, maintaining healthy sexual activity. Interviews have hinted at how he considers intimacy and release part of his wellness routine, not just for pleasure, but for keeping his body in rhythm. It may sound surprising, but science backs up what men like him practice quietly. Keeping the prostate active helps circulation, hormone balance, and glandular cleansing. What these stories show us is simple. Whether you're a global icon or an everyday grandfather, the prostate demands attention. Neglect it, and it dominates your life with discomfort and sleepless nights. Care for it, and it quietly supports your vitality, your masculinity, and your independence. And yes, something as private as regular ejaculation is more than just an act of release. It's a biological maintenance tool. It's part of how your body resets the prostate, clearing out waste proteins, keeping blood flow steady, and preventing long-term stagnation. 3 biological mechanisms. Let's break this down in plain English. Every man deserves to understand what's really happening inside his body, not in a medical textbook, but in a way that makes sense. Daily release affects the prostate in 3 major ways, and if you grasp these, you'll understand why balance is everything. 1. The hormonal reset button. Every man knows the power of testosterone. It fuels drive, energy, even that sharp edge of confidence. But what many don't realize is that another hormone, DHT, dihydrotestosterone, is quietly steering the health of the prostate. Think of DHT as testosterone's more intense brother. It deepens your voice, gives you body hair, and strengthens muscles. But too much, for too long, overstimulates the prostate, pushing it toward enlargement. Here's the fascinating part. Every time a man ejaculates, his DHT levels take a short dip. It's like pressing a reset button, giving the prostate a break from relentless hormonal stimulation. This is why moderate, consistent release can actually be protective. But as with anything in health, excess swings the other way. If a man forces himself into daily release without recovery, his hormones don't stabilize, they fluctuate wildly. That's when the endocrine system starts wobbling, especially for men in their 50s and beyond, when natural testosterone is already declining. A perfect example is Bill Clinton. In his 50s, after his heart surgery and during his health transformation, his doctors put enormous emphasis on balancing hormones, stress, and diet. While we'll never know the private details, the principle applies. When balance is restored, men thrive. When hormones are left unchecked, whether too high or too unstable, the body pays the price, and the prostate often signals it first. 2. The pelvic floor gym workout. Most men think of exercise as lifting weights, jogging, or swimming. But nature designed another kind of workout, one that happens during orgasm. Each contraction during ejaculation is like a pulse pump workout for the prostate and surrounding pelvic floor muscles. This rhythmic contraction boosts blood flow, oxygen delivery, and nutrient exchange. In essence, your prostate gets a little gym session every time. Men who remain sexually active into their later decades often have better urinary control, not just because of luck, but because their pelvic floor muscles stay toned. But just like lifting weights 7 days a week without rest would break down your body, overstimulating these muscles can cause tension and fatigue. That's when symptoms like leakage or difficulty holding urine appear. 3. The immune housekeeping crew. Now let's talk about something few men ever hear. Your prostate has its own microimmune system. Inside that tiny gland, old cells, proteins, and waste material naturally accumulate. Left unchecked, they irritate the tissue and set off chronic inflammation, the silent spark behind many prostate problems. Ejaculation acts like a flush cycle. With each release, the gland expels some of this buildup, lowering the burden on the immune system. It's a simple yet profound form of internal housekeeping. But here's the nuance. Too much flushing, without recovery time, actually backfires. The immune system gets confused, perceiving constant stimulation as stress, which leads to lingering irritation. That's when men complain of dull heaviness or pelvic discomfort, even though their scans look normal. Why? These mechanisms matter. So what do these 3 lessons, hormonal resets, pelvic floor workouts, and immune cleansing teach us? That ejaculation is not just about intimacy or pleasure. It's a built-in biological tool designed to keep the prostate functioning smoothly. Like brushing your teeth or exercising your heart, it has a maintenance role. The danger comes when men either neglect it entirely, leaving their prostate stagnant and congested, or overdo it, throwing their body into hormonal and muscular imbalance. Science is powerful, but sometimes a story makes the lesson unforgettable. One patient I worked with, let's call him David, was a 6'5" retired construction supervisor from Nevada. On the outside, he was tough, a man who had spent decades under the sun, building things with his hands, rarely missing a day of work. But when he sat in my office, he wasn't confident. He looked exhausted. "Doc," he said quietly, "I'm up 5-6 times every night. My bladder never feels empty, and there's this pressure in my lower belly I can't shake." As we dug deeper, I discovered something he had never shared with anyone, not even his wife. For nearly 10 years, David had completely stopped ejaculating. He thought, "That part of my life is over. I'm too old for that." He also felt embarrassed. It was easier to say nothing than admit he had doubts. His test told the story his words didn't. Mildly enlarged prostate, higher than normal PSA, and tissue showing low-level inflammation. Not yet dangerous, but certainly not healthy. Together, we made small changes: more hydration, light walking each morning, a prostate support supplement, and, yes, the reintroduction of ejaculation 1 or 2 times per week, guided by his comfort. 4 months later, his PSA dropped slightly, his nighttime bathroom trips cut in half, and that heavy abdominal pressure nearly vanished. What shocked him most wasn't the physical change, but the mental one. He told me, "I never imagined something so simple could give me back my confidence." David's story isn't rare. thousands of men silently struggle, not because the answers aren't available, but because they're too embarrassed to ask the question. Think about Winston Churchill, one of history's most celebrated leaders. In his later years, his friends and aides often mentioned how he paced at night, unable to sleep because of prostate issues. Despite being a giant on the world stage, he was still captive to the discomfort of an enlarged gland. It's a reminder that no man, no matter how powerful, escapes biology. On the other hand, look at Mick Jagger, still performing on stage well into his late 70s. Part of his endurance is explained by more than music. It's his discipline with lifestyle. He's open about maintaining activity, physical, social, and yes, intimate. Men like him show us that staying engaged with your body isn't vanity, it's survival. These stories prove that prostate health isn't reserved for specialists or books. It's a universal reality. Ignore it, and it robs you quietly. Care for it, and it gives you back years of quality life. So, how often is healthy? Now, let's tackle the question most men really want answered. How often should I ejaculate for prostate health? Here's the truth. There isn't one magic number for everyone, but after decades of clinical observation, patterns emerge that can serve as a guide. Ages 40 to 49. Your hormones are still strong. 3 to 4 times per week is usually well tolerated. It keeps DHT in check, blood flowing, and tissue fresh. Ages 50 to 59. Now recovery slows. 2 to 3 times per week is enough to keep the prostate exercised without overloading the system. If you notice fatigue or urination difficulty afterward, ease back slightly. Ages 60 and beyond. The goal shifts from quantity to rhythm. Once per week is often enough to keep the glands circulating and clean. Twice per week is fine if you feel good, but avoid back-to-back sessions that strain recovery. Think of it like watering a plant. Too little, it dries out. Too much, it drowns. The key isn't the number, it's consistency. When you put all of this together, the science, the patient stories, and the lessons from famous men, you see a clear pattern. The prostate thrives on attention, rhythm, and balance. Too little activity leaves it stagnant. Too much leaves it unstable. But the right amount, tuned to your age and your health, keeps this walnut-sized gland quietly supporting your vitality well into your later years. The silent barrier, shame, and stigma. Here's the truth that rarely gets spoken. Most men don't neglect their prostate because of ignorance. They neglect it because of shame. From a young age, men are taught not to talk about intimate health. We're told to tough it out, to keep certain things private, to avoid embarrassing subjects. By the time a man is 50 or 60, those decades of silence turn into a wall that even his doctor can't break through. I've seen countless men who knew something was wrong. Nighttime trips to the bathroom, heaviness in the pelvis, fatigue, but they stayed quiet. Why? Because they felt it was strange or inappropriate to talk about sexual health at their age. But silence is the most dangerous habit of all. One man I met, let's call him Robert, was 72. He came into my clinic only after his symptoms had become unbearable, severe urgency, interrupted sleep, and constant discomfort. For nearly 15 years, he had noticed gradual changes, but he never spoke of them. Not to his wife, not to his children, not even to his doctor. When I asked him why, he looked down and said, "Doc, at my age, I thought it was shameful to even bring it up." That silence cost him. His prostate had grown significantly, and treatment was far more difficult than it would have been if he had addressed it earlier. Why? Stigma persists. So why do so many men still hide? Cultural beliefs. In many societies, intimacy after 60 is seen as unnecessary or inappropriate. Pride. Men feel they must stay strong, even if their body is telling them otherwise. Fear of judgment. Some think their doctor will laugh or dismiss their concerns. Generational habits. Older generations grew up in an era when health conversations were limited to broken bones or heart attacks, not prostate function. The result? Men suffer in silence, and their prostate pays the price. The health lesson. Here's the reality from a medical perspective. Masturbation or intimacy in older age is not shameful. It's not strange. It's simply biology maintenance for a gland that quietly controls comfort, sleep, and independence. Ignoring it doesn't make you stronger. It makes you vulnerable. Addressing it, even if it feels uncomfortable at first, is an act of courage. It's the same kind of courage that world leaders, athletes, and cultural icons have shown when they broke the silence about their own health struggles. Awareness and balance, ESS, the real secret to prostate health. When you put everything together, the biology, the patient stories, the lessons from powerful men, you see one truth emerge. The prostate doesn't need secrecy, it needs steady attention. Just like brushing your teeth protects your gums, or walking daily protects your heart, managing the prostate with awareness and balance protects your independence. Too little attention and it stagnates. Too much strain and it destabilizes. But the right rhythm, tuned to your age and body, keeps this walnut-sized gland quietly supporting your vitality for decades. Why awareness is the first step. Most men wait until symptoms scream at them before they act. But prostate health isn't about waiting, it's about awareness. That dull heaviness in the pelvis, those 2 or 3 nightly bathroom trips, the slight hesitation in urine flow, these are not just old age, they're signals. And just like a smoke alarm, ignoring them doesn't make the fire go away. Breaking the taboo. For men over 50, the biggest hurdle is not medical, it's psychological. Many still see intimacy and ejaculation in older age as shameful or unnatural. But that belief is cultural, not biological. In fact, across the blue zones, the regions of the world where people live the longest, men stay engaged with life well into their 80s and 90s. In Okinawa, Japan, for instance, intimacy among older couples is openly discussed and accepted as part of healthy aging. They don't see it as shameful, they see it as natural, and their rates of prostate disease are far lower than in Western countries. Now, contrast that with societies where silence dominates, where men refuse to speak about these things. Those are the places where prostate disease takes its biggest toll. Balance, the takeaway lesson. Let's return to the science. Hormonal reset. Ejaculation lowers DHT, but too much destabilizes testosterone. Pelvic floor exercise. It strengthens circulation, but overuse causes strain. Immune cleansing. It reduces inflammation, but excess creates irritation. The key is balance. Moderation protects. Extremes, whether neglect or overindulgence, harm. Think of Benjamin Franklin, one of America's founding fathers. He believed in moderation in all things: food, drink, even work. That wisdom applies just as well to the prostate as it does to politics or philosophy. The new definition of strength. For decades, men equated strength with silence, but the real strength today is openness. Talking about your health, including your prostate, doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Look at Prince Philip, who lived to 99. He wasn't shy about discussing the realities of aging, even joking publicly about his body's limits. His openness helped normalize conversations about men's health. And that mindset, accepting, not hiding, helped him live nearly a century. The prostate is small, but its impact is massive. Whether you're a world leader, a rock star, or a grandfather, the rules are the same: awareness, balance, and courage to talk about it. Don't let stigma rob you of comfort. Don't let silence shorten your independence. And don't think for a moment that intimacy after 50 is shameful. It's biology's way of keeping you healthy. When men accept this, when they find their balance, they not only protect their prostate, they reclaim their vitality. Men, the truth is simple. Your prostate doesn't retire just because you do. It still needs care, attention, and balance. Ignoring it out of shame or fear doesn't protect you, it only increases your risk. Whether you're 40, 60, or even 80, the choices you make today will shape your independence tomorrow. Don't let embarrassment rob you of the vitality, freedom, and confidence you deserve. So here's my challenge to you: take your prostate health seriously. Not just with pills, not just with yearly checkups, but with daily awareness of how your decisions, even the most private ones, shape your future. If this message spoke to you, I want to hear your voice. Drop a comment below with your age group and tell me your biggest men's health concern right now. Because senior health after 50 isn't just a channel, it's a community. A brotherhood of men determined to live strong, live free, and live long. And before you go, do me a quick favor. Tap that like button, share this video with someone who needs it, and hit subscribe to Senior Health After 50. That way, you'll never miss the life-changing insights we bring you every single week. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay healthy, stay confident, and keep moving forward.